Morning, everyone. Well, not afternoon now. Good afternoon, everyone.
Morning. Hello.
I'm just
Hi.
waiting. Hi, Grace. How are you?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you, Ellie?
Good, thank you. Just waiting for Anne. She's just running a couple of minutes, but she will be here momentarily. I imagine as well, being a 12 o'clock meeting, a couple of people might be grabbing some lunch as well. So we'll give it a couple of minutes before we get started. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Hi, Lola. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Ellie.
Hi, Paige. Hi, Cedric. Hi, everyone. I was just explaining that we're just waiting a couple of minutes. We're just waiting for Anne to join. Paige got it right. I said good morning when I first joined. So what I might do, seeing as it's 2 minutes past, I might just introduce the session, what we're going to be talking about today, just whilst we're waiting for Anne to arrive. So, 1 second, I think Anne's having a couple of yeah, she'll be here in a minute. So if I just get started on doing some introductions. So thank you guys for joining. Normally these things take a little bit of time to get started because it's over a lunchtime. So I'm Ellie Stevenson. There's Anne. I'm the marketing lead for FLIS, which is Female Leaders in STEM Subjects. So I'm assuming most people do know about us, but we are a charity that was founded to support women in their career with free high quality mentoring even. And we kind of do a series of webinars throughout the year, inviting some of our mentors, mentees and connections. And this one is, we're really lucky today to have Anne joining us. Anne is the founder of the Determinator Collective. She represents the Chartered Institute of Buildings for Tomorrow's Leaders Programme. She is a construction planner, representing construction, and is a great speaker. And one of the things that she speaks really passionately about is imposter syndrome. So, and now that you're here, I think, yeah, if we want to get started, Anne, if you wanted to introduce yourself, and I know you've got some slides to share.
I do, Ellie. I'm unable to share my slides. I don't know if you can change my permission for that, please. If that's okay.
You wanted to just introduce yourself, Anne, and I can just start trying
to. No worries. So, hi everyone. My name is Anne Okafor. As Ellie said, I'm a chartered construction manager. I work for Robertson Construction as a construction planner currently, and I also am an ambassador, that's a mouthful, for construction change and building a better construction industry of the future. And part of that, I guess, is tackling imposter syndrome and cultivating resilience, which we're going to talk about soon, as soon as we get these slides going.
Second. Sorry, we've had some issues on the FLIS end with our teams recently, so I've accessed this in a slightly different way than I normally would. So just bear with me one moment.
No problem. Throughout the Throughout the presentation, I'll be asking some questions of you, so please feel free to be as interactive as you would like to be. And there will be an opportunity to ask some questions as well throughout or at the end, whatever you prefer.
Happening. And could you email me the sorry about this, everyone. Could you just email me your slides and I'll share them?
I will do that, Ellie. They're in Canva, so I will need to format them and send them over. Just give me 2 seconds and I'll do so.
Sorry about this, everyone. Just a couple of technical issues. I just have this one moment.
Ellie, I've just logged in on the FLIS account, made Anna the presenter, hopefully.
Brilliant. And do you want to give that a go? Sorry, it just won't let me in at all. I don't know what's going on. And you
Yeah, I can see that now. I'm able to share my slides.
Perfect. There we go.
Up there now. Okay. Okay, can you let me know if you can see my screen now?
Yeah, we'll go down. Great.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for that. Sorry about that, everyone. Thanks for being with us while we just get that organised. So as I said, today we're going to be talking about tackling imposter syndrome and cultivating resilience. So I'm going to hopefully give you a little bit of a different take on this to what you've perhaps had in the past. And hopefully I'm going to show you some ways that you can implement and even starting from today, these are some things that you can take forward for yourself to tackle your imposter syndrome and cultivate your resilience. So I've already said who I am, and this is some of the things that I talk about, and essentially imposter syndrome comes under all of the pillars that I talk about and all of the values that I work with as well, which is why it's a topic that comes up time and time again. And these are some of the businesses or agencies that I've worked with, universities and partners within the last couple of years, mentoring or talking about these types of things. Okay, so the mission for today is to encourage you to develop the confidence to engage in tackling imposter syndrome, because it can take some confidence to even think about how you tackle that when you are experiencing imposter syndrome, or what we label as imposter syndrome. It can feel quite limiting. It can feel as if you're stuck. So to actually then think about how am I going to get past this and tackle it in that moment, it can feel quite scary. So I'm going to show you how we can start to do that in the everyday and how you can do that by cultivating some resilience. I'm going to set the scene for why it's important to tackle this imposter syndrome, and we're going to explore how we can do this by cultivating resilience and through some self-promotion. And I know everybody hates that word, self-promotion, but we're going to show you how to get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not going to be able to see your reactions and things, I don't think, with the way I'm presenting these, but feel free to use the icons on Teams or use the chat function to share if you wish. It would be good to have this as interactive as possible. So, a question. Sorry, this is taking a little bit. So, I'm going to ask you, do you believe that we choose our own beliefs? So there's a question. I just want to sit with that for a couple of seconds, use the chat function, use the icons, and share your thoughts with me on what you think about this question. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Few people type in the chat. I think I'll get it started. I think personally, I think maybe some of them, obviously, depending on our circumstance. Oh, so Andrew said we are products of our own environments. Cedric has probably said about half and half for him. Rose, think it's a bit of nature, think it's a bit of that. I was thinking the same thing. I think it's sometimes to do with what's around you. Some not at all. Ultimately, yes, but you can be influenced by your environment. So there's a few of the comments.
Okay, so good. So essentially, people tend to get a little bit defensive on this, and we all think, yep, we can choose, we've got agency, we can do everything, we can choose our own beliefs. And generally 85% of people believe we do. But it's not so clear cut. There's lots and lots of things that go into that. But the message that I want to bring to you today is ultimately your beliefs can be really stubborn and they can be stuck in there. But we can change them. We might not always get to choose them. We can be products of our environment, that's true. We're products of our nature. We're products of, the biology and the brain that we have. So all of these things, there's so many things as well that go into what we are and how we believe and what we believe. But we can change it. So that's the thing I want you to remember from this today. Because if we could just choose what we wanted to believe, why would any of us choose to sit and believe we have imposter syndrome? And if it was that easy to change, why wouldn't you just choose to believe you don't have it? Okay, so I want you to think about how that is working, because if we could choose every belief, we would all just choose the good stuff for ourselves, right? So confidence and self-belief, you can't just improve it by telling yourself something all the time. It takes time. We can't just repeat affirmations. We love it. We do it quite a lot. And while it's good, it can build a bit of momentum. It can make us feel a bit better in that moment. It doesn't actually change what we want it to change most of the time. There's other things that need to go beyond that. So affirmations and telling ourselves something can be a good way to identify we need to do some work. It can be a good way to start the process, but it's not the be all and end all. And sometimes these affirmations are, like I say, really useful, but if that's all we do, then it doesn't actually make change. And that's what we want to do when we're talking about tackling imposter syndrome and cultivating resilience. We want to make change, okay? So again, when you're talking about coaches and things, beware of the coach who doesn't show you what you're capable of, okay? So someone who can tell you all the good things, but until they actually show you how you can go about making those changes, your gym coach, for example, if they just tell you, you'll be a better swimmer next week if you do this, actually they need to show you how to go about doing that. And it's the same with this, okay? So sometimes we're talking about beliefs. It can feel quite scary when we're saying, you can't really choose this. And people feel that, there's some sort of like losing agency in that, losing our ability to have control over that. But actually, it's just understanding that the power to reshape these beliefs lie in accumulating evidence. And I'm going to go into much more about that today. Taking the action to challenge the beliefs that we have. Okay, so we can have these beliefs, but we need to challenge all of them, and we need to understand whether they still serve us. Essentially what happens in our brain, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but essentially what happens is we believe things because of evidence that we've had in the past. We build up these little stories that we tell ourselves, and we do things that make us feel safe. Okay, so we shortcut. Where, you know, human beings generally can be quite lazy. Our brains go to the shortcut. They go to, this is what made me safe in the past. This is what will keep me safe now. But actually, it might not be the right situation for that safety mechanism to switch in. And that's kind of what's happening with imposter syndrome. It's a response. It's telling us, whoa, we're not ready for that, or we're not in that space yet. We're not good enough for this just now, or we're not competent enough to be on this stage or in this room or having this discussion. And it's just that thing that kind of makes us, right, we need to be safe, we need to protect our reputation, we need to do all these things. And actually, does it really serve you just now? So we're going to talk a bit more about that as we go along. So hopefully this slide's going to click forward again. Okay, so as I've said, you know, beliefs are stubborn, but they're malleable, so we can change them. But to change them, we need convincing evidence. Now, it's important it's convincing evidence that we can trust, because I can tell you anything. I can tell you that, you know, you're going to win the lottery tomorrow. You're probably going to think I'm telling a load of rubbish. How would I know? I can recommend you products. If you don't know me that well, you're probably not going to believe me, or you might take it with a pinch of salt. But if your best friend tells you that that product really works, you're going to listen to them, okay? If you've seen it for yourself, you really know it works. So it's the same with this. So you need that evidence that you can trust. The closer that evidence comes from, the more you trust it. So the best way we can give you evidence against imposter syndrome is so that you witness evidence of your own and you build up your own evidence. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. Self-reflection can reduce any belief, and that plays a big part in this situation. And again, I'm going to show you how to start with that process today and how you may implement it in a longer term strategy. New evidence is found just outside your comfort zone. So none of this changes if we stay in our comfy places, which is where we all want to be, nice and snuggly and cuddly in the comfort zone. But actually, you need to get a little bit brave and you need to step out of it. Again, I'm going to make some suggestions today on how you can do that and how I've done it. I'm just going to tell you some ways that I've done it, and maybe they'll resonate with you. Maybe you can identify some of the ways where you can get out of your comfort zone and into that growth zone. We tend to know what those bits are, because they're the bits that we avoid every time they come up, okay? And if you want to change someone's belief, yourself included, you need to help them to witness new positive evidence. Telling and attacking doesn't work. Telling yourself something isn't going to work. Attacking yourself with judgment isn't going to help. Okay, it's witnessing new positive evidence. And another point to be sure of is that unchallenging any of these limiting beliefs that we have are the biggest barrier to who you want to be. Okay. So I've mentioned we need evidence. Okay, so I talked about us being sort of lazy human beings. Our brains go to quick neural pathways. Okay, this book is a fantastic resource that explains this really, really well. It explains all the science in non-sciencey kind of language, and not just about this concept, but about other things as well. But essentially, to create these new neural pathways, we need to have evidence, and we need to teach ourselves and retrain ourselves almost. We must believe in the source of the evidence as well as the information itself. So like I said, if your best friend tells you about something, you're far more likely to take it on board than if a stranger tells you. But also, if you witness it with your own eyes and your own ears and your own feeling, you will much more believe it again. So the most powerful evidence is first-party evidence from your own 5 physical senses. So actually doing it and being there, seeing it yourself. Okay, so you might think, what is all this got to do with imposter syndrome? Because we're talking about that today. So I'm going to explain. Imposter syndrome is a psychological occurrence, okay, which an individual doubts their skills, talents, and accomplishments and has persistent internalized fear. Okay, so this comes from within. It's basically, you've heard it maybe called the inner critic. You may have a name for yours. It's that little niggly voice that anytime you go to do something great, it's that little person in your head, or the chimp, as it's been called in some books, that says, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing? You're not good enough for this, or however it may manifest for you. Now, imposter syndrome is that, but it's also in, despite the external evidence of your competence, you just still don't believe you deserve to be there, or your success or luck is just is exactly that, is luck. It's not anything to do with your competence, it's more luck. It's and sometimes this is attributed to the Matthew effect, where you think that you're deceiving others because you feel as if you're not intelligent as you outwardly per se, like they think I'm better than what I actually think I am. They think I'm more intelligent than what I think, all these sorts of things, okay? So that is essentially imposter syndrome. But I'm going to ask you a question. Are you really an imposter? Okay. The word imposter comes from the late Latin word impostor, which means deceiver, okay? It first appeared in English in 1580s and was used to mean cheat or swindler. And the current definition is a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others, especially for fraudulent gain. So are you an imposter? Are you, intentionally deceiving people for your own gain? I don't think any of us here would align those two things, okay? So I want us to go back to the definition again. I'm going to highlight some things. So imposter syndrome, as I said before in the main definition, is something where you doubt your skills, your talents, your accomplishments, but that also means you have skills, talents, and accomplishments, okay? And you have this internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, but are you actually a fraud? Okay, I think probably most of us, hopefully all, have said no to that last question. Okay, so you're not going to be exposed as a fraud and a cheat and a swindler if you're not actually doing that. What you're doing is you're using your skills, your talents, and your accomplishments to do great things. Okay, so we need to have a think about that. And despite external evidence, now lots of us will have loads of external evidence about the good things that we do. We will have reviews from people. We will have emails that will say, you did a great job last week. You will have all of these things. You'll have qualifications. They don't just hand these out because you showed up. You've got to do the work. You've got to pass the test, do the exam, whatever it is, okay? And it's just that we don't believe that. All that sort of body of evidence, and sometimes we maybe don't even recognize these things as evidence towards this. So I'm going to show you how we can take all of that together and start tackling this sort of feeling of imposter syndrome. So when you get that situation where someone asks you to do something, you think, why are they asking me and not so and so? Because I'm not the right person. I'm not the expert. Why would they ask me? I'm going to explain the things that you can do that can help you to overcome that. Now, this is something that, for me, I choose not to take the term imposter syndrome and apply it to myself, because I don't truly believe that I'm an imposter. I don't truly believe that I'm out to cheat someone or swindle someone. And everybody will get self-doubt, it happens at all levels, from new entrants to industry up until the boardroom and beyond. Everybody gets that, why are they asking me and not so and so? We all get that. Okay, and I'm not saying that it'll maybe ever go away, that you won't ever get those little feelings, but those little feelings are just demonstrations of growth, that you're taking new steps perhaps, or that you're doing something a little bit different. You're stepping out of that comfort zone that we asked you to get out of before, and that you're in this growth zone. You're maybe doing something new. But the way that you can get better at doing that is to continually do it. Okay. So what I want you to think about first is, are you saying no to yourself first? Stop saying no. So the minute you go, Why are they asking me? No, I'm not doing it. I don't think I'm the person. You're the person who's saying no to you, not anyone else. So we're almost imposing these glass ceilings on our own selves before, and that can be an uncomfortable thought. It was uncomfortable for me when someone first said that to me. But we talk about all these glass ceilings, and absolutely they are there. But also there's so many things that we impose on ourselves by saying no to ourselves first, because of all these wee stories that we've told ourselves along the way. And we're really kind of good at that as well. We count ourselves out the race before you even get a chance. You know, you might say, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting up to speak in front of the whole room. But how are you going to get better if you don't ever do it? How are you going to get the opportunities? You know, if you want to be a speaker or writer, whatever it is you want to do, how are you going to get there if you don't take the opportunities that are actually given? Because you say no to yourself before you give anyone else a chance to say you're rubbish. Okay, and nobody really ever does that. So let's try saying yes to you instead. Okay. So the first way you can do this is evidence. It's found in your achievements. But when was the last time you took a moment to acknowledge them? Does anyone do this standardly at the moment? Do you look at your achievements? Or do you just, like most of us, right, okay, I've got that certificate, well done, right, next. Put it in the drawer, put it, you know, on the wall, whatever, send it to the learning development department at your work, and then you move on, you're on to the next CPD, you're on to the next course, you're on to the next task in your to-do list, whatever it is. You know, I think lots of us tend to do that as well. So what can we do? Okay, there's lots of reasons why we don't stop. There's lots of reasons, okay? But some of the most common are, we're often in a hurry to move on to the next thing. You know, the next module needs done, the next course needs sorted, whatever it may be. I need to get the next certification. We also tell ourselves a lot of the time that we don't need to talk about our accomplishments. If we work hard, people will notice us. It doesn't. People are busy. People are too busy doing their own cycle of things, and they don't always notice. Quite a lot of the time, you'll do a lot of things that are unnoticed. They're things that you may do all the time, and you may think that people will notice. You may think your boss will notice, but a lot of the time they don't, because they're in their own world, doing their own things and completing their own tasks. And a lot of times we often underestimate how important our achievements are. Okay, so we just think it's just a done thing. Doing that CPT, well, everyone was doing it. Doing that qualification, hundreds of people have done it. But actually, these are really important, and they're important for you, but they're important to share with others as well, because by sharing your accomplishments, you can also inspire others to take the next steps as well. And actually, it can be really uncomfortable sometimes to talk about our achievements. Many of us don't want to do that. We have thoughts and feelings about that, and we're going to go into that in a wee second. So, a couple of questions. Do you ever find yourself wanting to talk about your achievements, but you hesitate, you stop? And what are some of the things that hold you back from that? And feel free to share within the chat or come off mute and share some of those things that may hold you back when you have that moment of hesitation.
I think just to get the ball rolling, I think yeah, some crazy, but feeling like I'm bragging, and for me it's that feeling of like trying to, you know, say things that kind of come across that I'm showing off, or going, oh, look at me, and it's the whole thing of like drawing attention and pointing those things out. Someone has just put, don't want to come across as braggy or rude as well.
Okay, interesting. So hold that thought, because we're going to address that very shortly. Okay, so I will move on. And it's really common to have these thoughts and feelings, okay? So, but why is it important that we do share our accomplishments, okay? If you don't take credit for them, absolutely guaranteed someone else will. Okay, we've all had it where maybe your boss has spoke up and mean, oh, I've done this report when, fine well, it was actually you and your team that did it. In sport and things, people will take credit for other people's accomplishments. To inspire others, as I already said, we've all read or listened to someone that we looked up to. Okay, we've all got authors that we may go to, or a TED talk that we may go to from someone that we actually look up to and we think, I want to know what this person's saying. So actually, by sharing their accomplishments, sharing their achievements and their experiences, can actually inspire someone else who's maybe a few steps before you on their journey. Actually, for your own well-being, it's really good to acknowledge your accomplishments. Take a moment to stop and say, you know what, actually, it was a really good job that I did there, or I'm really proud that I got to this level of my qualification. Take a moment and just enjoy being in that moment. Enjoy your accomplishment before you are so quick to move on to the next thing. And actually, for career progression and opportunities, by sharing some of the things that you get involved with, by sharing some of the things that you do, it will bring people to you that perhaps have career progression opportunities or other opportunities that you may be able to get involved in. So it really does open doors for you if you wish to look for them. Okay, so I've got a statement here by Simone Biles, who is an amazing gymnast. And this quote came from her, and I want to see, how does this quote make you feel? If I say I'm the best gymnast there is, the reaction's like, oh, she's cocky. But the facts are literally on paper. I've won 5 world titles. She's literally the best out there. So, but when she says it, people are, oh, she's really cocky. But actually, the evidence is actually that she's the best. Okay? How does that make you feel if you see something like that? Anyone?
Oh, right, any comments? It's interesting, like it's when I hear other people kind of go, might be, oh, I would never say that, but I think it's great that she's saying it. Let's see if there's some other. So yeah, so personally, I love it. I think she's the best. She should be allowed to say it. Like, yeah, it's so Andrew said, depends on how you say it to others. That's interesting. There's a couple more people typing. Inspiring to recognize her achievements. It's really interesting, isn't it? We're all going, oh, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about ourselves, we go, oh, no, I can't say that, it's bragging. When someone else is saying, I'm the best, I've done this is my achievement, we're all going, amazing, she's so inspiring. The journey she's been on, we look up to this person for their journey, for their experiences and what they have to say about that journey and those experiences. Again, there will be some nuances about how it's said, but certainly just stating, I've done this, I've achieved this, most of us are saying, actually, I'm inspired by that. I love it. I'm really pleased for her, all these sorts of things. So what I want you to take from this is it's not bragging if it's based on facts. Okay? You're not telling anyone anything that isn't true. Okay, so it goes back to that evidence. Like Simone Biles, she has the paperwork, she's the medals, she is the best, so why shouldn't she say I'm the best? We do it as companies. Okay, companies, look at your companies, all of them will say we're the best company for this, we're the best company for social value, we're the best house builder, because they have the medals, they have the awards, so they can say those things. Okay, when it comes to people, well, we all just say, oh no, we can't possibly say that, okay? So just a little bit of a mindset shift possibly with that one. But if you're just stating facts, it's just facts, okay? So if you're the best at something, tell us, okay? Because we want to know, because 9 times out of 10 we'll find it inspiring. 9 times out of 10, if we want to get better at that, we'll look up to you. How did you do that? Or she's amazing at that. I want to know how she did that. I want to know what she does next. I want to know where she goes with this. So by all means, share it. I certainly want to hear about it. And I mentioned before that your accomplishments just simply do not speak for themselves, okay? You have to be out there. Why do we think people like Simone Biles has the big marketing machine that goes behind to say all these things? Why are the medals, all these shiny gold things, and they have these medal ceremonies, because of the accomplishments and all the hard work that she put in, and people knew she was the best, they wouldn't have all of that machine behind it, okay? So you have to speak up. You have to say, I'm the best. You have to say, here's my certificate. I got the medal. Like I went to the award, I was nominated, I was shortlisted, and I was voted the best. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what happened, so all you're doing is telling the story of what happened, okay? Because otherwise, nobody, you can think you're the best and you can tell people you're the best. But unless you've got that sort of evidence in the backup, or they've witnessed it for themselves, people just don't see that. We're all so busy doing our own things. We can know people in our team are good at a certain thing, but that's because we've got closeness to them. People on LinkedIn, if you don't see what they're doing every day, you don't know that they're really good at something. So they have to tell you, okay? Like I say, in your team or your best friend, you may know them better, so you've witnessed those things more. It goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning about that witness and that evidence, okay? So the way to share that is to have evidence, share evidence, okay? And as I say, we do it as businesses. Companies do it all the time, so people can also do it. Okay, so another thing that we're really guilty of in construction, super guilty of this one, is everything's we did this, we did that, okay? All the time, okay? Because we work in teams predominantly, and we don't actually acknowledge the I in that, okay? And we're always taught, there's no I in team and stuff like that, but actually sometimes it's appropriate to acknowledge that I. What did you contribute to make that happen? And if you think back to, so I'm a mentor for the CIOB in their chartership process, and actually what they want to know to get you chartered is what the I was. What did you do to contribute to that team effort? It's all well and good saying the team did this and this happened, but that's not what they're interested in. They want to know what you did, what makes you competent. And I'm guessing that a lot of the other chartered bodies will be exactly the same. In order to address what your competency is, they want to know the I. And for a lot of people, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to say, well, actually, the part I played in that success was this, okay? But I want you to think about those things more. Yes, by all means, it's great to think about the team and working together as a team and collaborating, but actually what you did as part of that actually helped to get that thing over the line, okay? And sometimes you will get individual recognition for that, sometimes not. But even if you don't get a special individual recognition for it, there's nothing wrong with saying, I supported a work placement student through a placement. It will go towards the social value teams and the project teams, KPIs or whatever, and it will go towards the whole team success. But there's nothing wrong with saying, actually, I played a part in that, and this was the part I played, and this is how it turned out. It was successful. This person has now got a qualification. That's really impactful just by itself. So it's really good to be able to share those things as well. And it's good to understand what makes up the bigger picture as well. We see lots of things on social media where it's like, the team did this and we did, 5,000 hours of community benefits or whatever. Tell me about the 5,000. Like, I want to know what happened, like who did what, and that's where you can share your little piece of the world. Maybe you did an 8-hour stint helping out, doing a beach clean or something like that. I want to know about that. I want to know what makes up that 5,000 hours. Okay. And it's really just important to show your unique value, like, personality. People want to know about people. People buy from people. People make connections with people. And we do that by showing our unique value. When you share what you do and what makes what you do unique, people will link with that, okay? And it will help people to make connection with you, because they'll say, oh, well, that's a really kind thing. Or actually, she did a beach clean. I did one in 2015. I'm going to, reach out and see how did you get on? What did, actually, there's another opportunity coming up. Maybe they would like to be involved in this. And that it's all a sort of bigger, sort of wide part of networking as well. Okay. So how we can start going about all these things. So you want to flex your remarkableness muscles, okay? So when you're talking about your accomplishment and you being you and what you do is remarkable and all those things, but you want to talking about your accomplishments as a skill in itself, and like any other skill, you have to practice, okay? And yeah, we don't want to do that half the time. We want to go to the gym and come out tomorrow with our summer bodies, but it doesn't work like that. You've got to go a couple more times than that. Same if you want to get better at football or dancing or reading or maths or any skill you want to improve. This is exactly the same. You've got to do it, and you've got to do little bits at a time and keep doing it, okay? It's a muscle like any other. It needs flexing and to develop and strengthen it over time. You won't always get this right. Sometimes it might feel odd. Sometimes you might, you will be uncomfortable, okay? But look for role models to mimic, okay? So look for people on LinkedIn or online, or people like Simone Biles that you can mimic. How do they speak? How do they present their successes? We were talking about, it depends how they say it. So what makes you uncomfortable? What are the things that don't resonate with you? And you can try different styles out. Treat it like an experiment. Over time, you will find your natural voice in this, and you'll get more comfortable promoting, doing your self-promotion in ways that's natural to you. It takes a bit of experimenting and finding out, really. And that's the uncomfortable bit that lots of us don't really get past, but it is worth it to get to the other side. Okay, so as I said, it's not one and done. This sort of goes hand in hand with cultivating resilience. And the way we do that is a cycle. It's an ongoing cycle. We're strengthening our skills. We're strengthening our reflective skills, as I said before, self-doubt and reflection. Self-reflection is one of the best ways to get over this. Now, how this goes together with the other parts is that we have experiences, okay, and we can treat them like an experiment, okay? So think of getting out of your comfort zone. So for me, right at the very beginning of this journey, people say, oh, come and speak up on stage, or you were at university and you had to give a presentation. Absolutely no way, I'm not doing it. Or I'll go up and I'll do it as fast as I can. I'll read with my paper in front of my face. I'll scurry through it as quickly as I can. But actually, on reflection, I'm saying, no, I need to get better at this. I want to get better at this, but how am I going to do that? So what you have to do is you have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing experiments, okay? Keep trying whatever it is you may want to get better at. Now, this helps you with building this evidence, okay? So you'll observe yourself without judgment, okay? Because we're really good at saying, oh, that was rubbish. You come straight off stage, oh, that was rubbish. That was awful. I'm really sorry about that. But actually, sometimes it's going, well, actually, I could have improved on this. Or it would be even better if, now this is a really good skill that I picked up. What would be even better if I did this again the next time? Okay, so as I said to you in the beginning, telling people or attacking them, and that includes telling yourself or attacking yourself, isn't enough. So if you just continue to tell yourself you're rubbish at something, you're just going to keep not doing it. Or you're going to keep doing it in a way that you get it over and done with as fast as possible without actually ever trying to improve. So if you have this cycle where you take an experiment, and these can be really tiny steps out of your comfort zone to start with. Now, for me, I started a couple of years ago with this experiment where I was just going to be a bit more curious about everything, okay? And what I started doing was noticing the things that I used to do habitually. So it can be as simple as, and for me, it was things like when I used to go to a gym class, I would always pick the space right up the back in the corner where nobody could see you. Where you were just hidden away in the corner. Same with maybe seminars or CPDs. I would stand at the back and stand like a wee wallflower at the back, waiting for people to approach me. So I said to myself, what am I going to do? I'm going to try and do something different next time. So I'm going to try and sit in a different seat, or I'm going to try and go up front in the gym class, like, oh, scary stuff, but get out of that comfort zone. And we've all got things, and you're probably all thinking, well, I do that, or I just get in the habit of doing. Sometimes we just do it because we don't even know we're doing half of these things. But treat it as an experiment. And observe the things that make you feel uncomfortable about it. Observe the things that actually weren't as bad as what you thought, because there's loads of things you think, oh, I'm going to stay up the back so nobody can see me, or I'm going to do things as fast as possible. Actually, what would happen if you slowed down? So treat it as an experiment. What would happen if you slowed down? And then afterwards, reflect on that. What actually happened? Well, actually, people understood my message more. I was able to feel like I wasn't so rushed. I was actually able to gather my thoughts, all these sorts of things. So treat it with some reflection, and then you can take some actions for what happens next. So maybe it's not for you. Maybe staying right at the back of the gym in the corner is where you want to be. Absolutely fine. But because you've tried getting out of that comfort zone, you've experimented, maybe it's not for you now. Maybe in 6 months you'll try again. But for now, it's not for you. Maybe the next step is, well, actually, actually slowing down to do this presentation was really, really useful. Maybe I'm going to try and have less notes or less prompts next time. And then you can add on it. So all the time you're building up these skills, you're building up these evidence, okay? All this is evidence that then will teach you and build these neural pathways that I spoke about in the beginning, because once you have good experiences and positive experiences, once you have that been up on the stage and you've slowed down, you will say to yourself, well, actually, it wasn't as bad last time. So you'll start to feel more comfortable the more times you do that, okay? So the more you do that, the more you're building evidence for yourself, you're witnessing yourself building on these skills. And these can be anything that you find that you need to work on that put you in that imposter cycle. Okay, so how we can do this in a bit more of a long-term strategy. I'm going to give you one option. There's loads of different ways you can do this that may suit you. This is the one through experimentation that I've found has been the most purposeful and the most impactful for me. And I do this through a program called the 12-Week Year. And it's a book, again, a resource, fantastic resource by a writer called Brian Moran. And how this works is this actually really helps me to build evidence about what I do, when I do it. Do I do things well? Are there trends? Because what I noticed, so for example, when I started this process a couple of years ago, I started to notice that I would, for example, when I was swimming, I would notice trends. So like Tuesdays didn't seem to be a good swimming day for me, but I didn't know that before. So actually by doing this process, so essentially what you do is you pick 4 big goals, stretch goals. It can be 4, it can be 2, no more than 4. But you pick certain things that you want to work on for a 12-week period, okay? So generally I had 4 themes, and then I would have some goals in that would help me get there. So for example, just now I'm working towards my FCIOB for the Fellowship for Chartered Institute of Building. That's a big goal for me. So I've broke it down into sort of like smaller chunks. Now, for me, it's too big for 12 weeks. So I've then split it down further. But essentially, you come to this where you have like a smaller thing every 12 weeks, and it helps you to build evidence, because you build trust in yourself that you're doing the things that you said you were doing. You're doing the things that you can to get towards these bigger goals. So it may be speaking on stage, for example, and so the big thing maybe in 12 weeks you've got a big presentation to do. What can you do this week to get towards it? And then you break that down into daily as well. So what do I need to do today? It may not be that you do something every day, but for example, in speaking on stage, it may be that today you're going to practice your presentation, and next week, you're going to rewrite it. After you've done a practice, you're going to get some feedback. You can add all these things in to give feedback. So it gives you really good focus on these goals that you have. So whatever your goals are, you can put them in. It helps you to start building baselines, so things that you're really trying to continuously improve on. Your first sort of like round, your first 12 weeks can give you a really good baseline, and actually you can look for these trends. Is there something that I'm getting in my own way? Is like Tuesdays, I'm setting myself up for failure because I say I'm going to go swim on a Tuesday morning and it never happens. You can start to dig into those things and say, why is this not happening? Okay. And what we also do is we have an accountability week every week. So every week on a Tuesday morning, I have a call with other people who are doing this, and we have to explain to each other what went well, what didn't go well. And actually having that where you've got to be accountable for your choices and your decisions really helps you to sort of dig into them. But this helps you with that reflection cycle and the action cycle. This may not be right for you, but this is one way that helped me to build evidence for trusting myself to do the things I said I was going to do, to get better at things, and actually to give it a focus, and almost, I think it's the construction planner in me, but to have a plan and to have something where I could see some progress being made, or I could actually dig into why there wasn't progress being made. It helped me to understand what were the pain points, what do I need to work on here. So if you're really stuck, this can be a really good way to, if you want to be a good writer, you want to be a good stage speaker, this can be a really good way to just start testing and experiment and what maybe are the things that are holding you back, because you will start to notice themes, and if you've got that accountability group, and you have that discussion with them weekly, you will start to get those discussions where you will notice the same things coming up over and over again, that can help you to take action. Okay. So as I said, self-reflection is really part of the puzzle. And what I'd like you to do is, after this presentation at some point today, is to take 10 minutes for yourself. Be really not distracted. I want you to carve out 10 minutes, and it is just 10 minutes. It sounds like not a lot of time, but it can be really, really impactful for this purpose. And I want you to write at the top of the page, I am remarkable because. Put the phone away, lock the door, don't have children around, if possible. Really try and give yourself 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be today, but over the next wee while, try and give yourself 10 minutes where you can just, I am remarkable because, and then I want you just to let the pen go over the paper. I am remarkable because, and it can be personal things, professional things, and just see what happens with the page, because I guarantee you'll fill lots of paper. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but you will fill lots of things. So this is how you can start to think about your accomplishments. We spoke about them before, and we say, oh, loads of things just go by, and we sort of think, oh, these are everyday things, but actually they're really remarkable things. And just because 300 people are doing them doesn't make them any less remarkable. Okay, just because one candle is a light doesn't mean that by lighting another it's going to take anything from what you do. Okay, so you need to just get in that way. So please do take time to do that, and if you can, pick something off that list and share it on LinkedIn. Be brave if you and if you're not brave enough to share it publicly on LinkedIn, even just send me a message on LinkedIn and share something that you've I am remarkable because in a DM, because I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear what comes up for you when you do this experiment. Okay, so sometimes we would do the activity in the call. We're just about at the end of the presentation. So, it's only by combining this individual action and raising awareness of, imposter syndrome as a thing, and as something that people do experience, but actually it's action that takes to overcome it. And some of the actions I've shared with you today about reflection, about taking action, getting out of your comfort zone, starting with I am remarkable because, okay, just to see what comes up. Treat things like an experiment. I found that the best way for me, because, if the experiment doesn't work, you can try again, right? And actually that's how the best companies are the most innovative, because they fail fast, they experiment fast, and they try to learn things about the products they're making. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Fine, park it. What's next? And you can do that for yourself by taking action on these things. So some of the next steps you can try here on out is I am remarkable because, the activity that I've said, and please do try and share something if you feel brave enough to do so, and just notice what people say. Is anyone saying, oh my god, she's bragging, what are you saying that for? Have a look on LinkedIn when people share their accomplishments. what are people saying as a response? So it reflects your remarkable muscles, practice it and perfect it. Okay, share an achievement on LinkedIn. Try shouting about something. Also track your achievements. This is something I haven't mentioned before, but this is a really great thing to do. As you get feedback from people, as you get, maybe you've done a really good job, and someone thanks you for their involvement, and maybe you've helped them to get their chartership, maybe you've helped with a really big project to get over the line, and someone sends you an email, thanks, Anne, you've done a really great job, we're really happy, or you really helped me in this way, or actually thanks for that mentoring because I've actually now secured a job, I took your advice and I've secured a job. Keep all these little things. I have one, it's called my smile file. And when I get that little niggly inner critic that tries to say, why are they asking me to do this? Actually, I can look at this file back and I can say, this is why they're asking me, because there's this evidence. This is a counter to that imposter syndrome inner thoughts that we have. And actually, there's evidence here. Sometimes just tracking that can actually help. Have it in one place, have it on your desktop. If you're having a thought that, you know, maybe you're having a bad day, it can be really just useful to have a look at the impact that you actually do put out into the world as well. Act and review. And set a stretch goal. You can also advocate for others. We've not covered too much of that so far, but you can advocate for others, so you can recognise imposter syndrome in others, and perhaps you can you know, help people to share their contributions as well, you know, in meetings, or you can speak up for people in meetings as well, or in the workplace, or you can share achievements. But just be careful when you're doing that, that you share you only share what people are actually comfortable with themselves as well. But if someone shares an achievement and they're on your team, or the project shares something, you can then share that. And LinkedIn's great, it's got a repost sort of options for you. So even just try doing that, even advocate for others when they share something. You can share it and just say, you know, well done, or, you know, we're really proud that you've done this. If someone's in your team, really proud of you. I know how hard you worked at that. And building that culture of sharing our achievements can really help others to feel like it's okay to do it too. Okay, so that's about the end of my presentation. I'm really happy to take any questions if anyone has any, and I've dropped my QR code if you'd like to share some of your achievements with me, even if you don't feel brave enough to share them publicly at the moment, but I will champion and encourage you to do so anyway.
Thanks so
Thank
much, Anne. That was incredible. Just to yeah, like, so I know we've only got a couple of minutes left.
I will stop sharing so you can see my face.
There's just a couple of things I just wanted to pick up on that. I thought it was really interesting what you're saying about reshaping beliefs, so accumulating evidence, taking actions, and asking ourselves, do these beliefs still serve us? Convincing evidence that builds trust. I thought that was a really key point as well. One of my biggest takeaways from this was stop saying no to yourself first, and the idea of like that we, you know, before anyone else has kind of like given us the opportunity, that we've already taken that opportunity away from ourselves. I think that's really interesting. And I also thought it was quite interesting when you're talking about like how we feel about someone else's achievements. And I know a lot of people making comments in the chat at that point as well. And it's true, like when, you know, I quite often think like, how, if one of my friends was saying this, what would I say to them? And half the stuff I say in my brain, like it would never happen. So why are we expecting that of ourselves? So I thought that was quite interesting. Yeah, I know that there was a couple of questions in the chat as well. I've written so many notes. You know, so I think you've covered a lot of the questions that I originally had to think of, and which is really great. But one of the things, so Cedric in particular, this might be something that we sort of pick up afterwards, but feeling like having knowing what I'm actually, do you know what, it might be better if, and if you get in contact afterwards, because I'm aware we've only got 2 minutes left. If there are any other questions for Anne, as Anna said, she's shared all of her details, so please get in contact. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming. Apologies for the technical issues at the beginning, and Anne, thank you so much for the presentation. It was brilliant, really great.
Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions. If anyone does want to reach out on LinkedIn or other, you know, I'm more than happy to do that and happy to answer questions if something comes up later.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ellie.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.